Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Pretend Pros. I'm your co-host, Jenny Hoffman, the rookie.
I am Beth Painter, the IU fan. And so, as has been my shtick for this whole thing, I'm wearing Indiana gear. This one is definitely appropriate given our guest this week. So, for our audio listeners, and particularly my friend Matt, who actually knows our guest, I'm wearing my Indiana basketball shirt, which I thought was very appropriate. It says in 49 other states, it's just basketball. But this is Indiana, and our guest is definitely a product of that mentality. So I will introduce her. Amber Tretter has joined us. She graduated from Forest Park High School, where her team won back-to-back Indiana Class 2A state champions, and she matched a state final record for most rebounds. Very cool. Was also named first team all conference and team MVP. Amber is now starting her senior year at Miami, the Miami that's in Ohio, not Miami of Ohio. I think we all learned not to call it that. It's Miami University that's in the state of Ohio. Last year, she won first team all MAC. That team had a program best, so we will definitely talk about what an amazing year that they had. In her career at Miami has had 31 double-doubles, which is the third most in program history, and she's definitely not done. 788 career rebounds, is on pace to be the second Red Hawk ever with over 1,000 career rebounds, and has 1,152 career points. So we are talking to a superstar. So Amber, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I'm excited.
Yeah, we are very excited to have you. So, I think, as I mentioned, the way I know Amber is through my friend Matt. So, my friend Matt and Amber's dad, Matt, went to college together. I think they actually know each other from before then. When Jenny and I were starting this podcast, I mentioned to my friend that we were doing this. We had no idea what we were doing. We didn't know what we were going to talk about. And he said that you were playing for Miami and sent me this very cool article about you. So I actually talked about you on the podcast back in March as part of our March Madness coverage. So we're very excited that you decided to join us. And then as I was doing some research, the number of IU connections to Miami was amazing. So Jenny loves it when I talk about Indiana,
You
anything.
know, first off, I did not pitch her this podcast as an Indiana sports podcast, but somehow she always works it in.
Yeah, this one was super easy because obviously there are a ton of connections. So last year you played with the sister of an IU star. Sarah Scalia played for IU. Her sister played with you. And then I just noticed that Juliana Lamandola has transferred. So that's cool. I was bummed when we lost her. So hopefully she'll be good for you guys. And then obviously the biggest one is your coach was an assistant coach at IU before moving to Miami. And I think the brother of one of the IU assistant coaches was also an assistant who I saw just got at the Evansville head coach job. So yeah, we got all kinds of connections here.
Also, we used to have Coach Key as well my freshman year.
Okay.
She graduated from IU. She played under Box as well. And then one of our Dobos actually also graduated from IU, Kim Royster, as well. So there's lots of IU connections in between there.
Yeah. I think you probably went to some IU games when you were growing up, I would assume.
Yes.
Can you feel like the IU of it all, but just with a different jersey on?
Yeah, a lot. We talked about that a lot. Me and Coach Box has talked about that a lot, especially. Like I had pictures and stuff growing up. And it was funny too, because even like freshman year, like I was saying, Coach Key, she actually is now an assistant at IU for the women's program. I was saying there was like one picture that I remember putting up on my camera. Like she was on the team in that picture too. So it was just cool, like seeing all those different connections.
That's very cool. Do you have a favorite IU women's player from all the years that you've watched them?
I really like Mackenzie Holmes. Yeah, she's great to watch, fun to watch.
Yeah. Have you been watching her play for Seattle this year?
I haven't really got to watch a lot of games, but I like follow her on Instagram and stuff and been seeing all of the content that way.
Yeah. They're not having a great year, but she's getting to play some minutes, which is really fun to see. So, all right. Okay, Jenny, I'll stop talking about IU. This happens pretty much every episode.
I just let her do her thing. It's all good. So I guess my question would be, you're heading into your senior year, and actually, side question, I noticed an article came out just this week about the NCAA and the new eligibility rules. Does that have any impact on your time?
Yes, I think what I believe, it literally just came out like 2 days ago or yesterday. So I don't really know exactly all the rules and what it implies, but I think I would get another year. So technically, I think I still have 2 years of eligibility left, from what I understand. It's all very brand new for everyone. I mean, they've been talking about it for a while, but I think they're just now starting to like actually go through with it.
Okay. Very interesting. So you're in your senior year, possibly another year to come if you would like it, but you're coming off a great year. When you let yourself kind of sit with it in this off season, what part of the past year do you go back to and think, wow, this is amazing?
I would say our MAC championship game. I think that was just a very cool atmosphere to be part of, and just seeing from where we came my freshman year to that game and winning the conference, and just with those people too. It was just such a surreal experience, and I actually got asked a question too, where it was like, "What is one moment that I'll always remember?" From that game too, and that was, like, our post-conference, thing, and I'll say there was a hug between me and my lifting coach that I'm like that's whenever he was crying, and that, like, made me start to cry too. Then it got kind of emotional there too, and, like, 'cause he is super, a Miami guy and, like, love and honor and everything, and he's been with the program for a while, and, it's been time for this to happen, and just kind of going back, and I love just going back and watching the videos and pictures from the game, and, everyone just so excited and so joyful and everything too, and it just kind of puts into preference, like, all the work that we do all year and all the years from freshman to now, and just, like, for the moments like that.
Yeah, and obviously things didn't quite start the way I think you expected them to, right? You had a coaching change at the beginning of your freshman year, and a lot of players, I believe, chose to take advantage of the transfer portal in that situation. I'm curious, what made you stick, and to your point, like to come from where that freshman team looked, and even your sophomore year was still, I think, quite a struggle. To come from there to like program best wins, first time in the NCAA tournament since 2008. I mean, just all kinds of accolades for you personally and for the team. How does that feel? And like, I don't know that you could have thought that that's what was necessarily going to happen when you made the choice to stay. So I'm just curious, how did you decide that Miami was where you wanted to be?
Yeah, so going into my freshman year, there was the coaching change, and I knew there was 4 of us committed to go to Miami in my recruitment class, and 2 out of the 4 of us ended up staying, and then the other girl, she ended up transferring after our freshman year. But I knew that I chose Miami because I really liked the school, and I also am majoring in architecture, and that was very hard to find a place that has both and would allow me to do both because it's just a very hard major to do while I'm playing Division I athletics. So I know I chose Miami because it's the school, the place, the atmosphere, the student life. I didn't just choose it just because of basketball as well, and I knew that I would be getting a new coach either way, and I also wasn't super highly recruited going out of high school as well. I think part of it's being from a small town in Southern Indiana, and I didn't get a lot of exposure. But I think part of that too was that whenever they announced Coach Box was going to be our coach too, I was like, oh, well, I'm an IU fan. And I grew up watching them, and I was like, okay, this is exciting for me. So then going into freshman year, I was very excited for the new opportunity and everything. And it was challenging first because, like I was saying, new team, new coaches, kind of how to bring a team together very last minute. And I always say that freshman year there was a lot of tears
Yeah.
that came out of that year, a lot of learning. I think that's kind of helped me at least develop to the player I am today, and even like leader as well, because I've been through a lot of situations where and just learning how to build a culture and build a program that can be successful overall. So I think those years are a little rough. It's definitely helped develop me as a player and a person.
Yeah, it's probably a good example of like what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. In the moment, you're like, do we have to do the harder part? But hopefully, it makes the all the success a little bit sweeter than if it was easy, right?
Yeah.
So, what do you think clicked for this last year? Coming off 2 seasons ago, you had 9-game win. This time around, it was 28 games. What do you think was the secret to your success?
Yeah, I think a lot of it was not only like just having a core group of people that kind of some of us were there for all of our years, and then we had 2 other players too that were kind of there this past year that had a big impact on our team, and they grew a lot and developed a lot between their freshman to sophomore year. But I think also just the buy-in to what our goals were and what our coaches were saying and everything like that, I think just really drove to how we kind of got to where we were. And everyone truly wanted to play for each other and not play selfish and really just kind of share the ball and really strive to win as a team, I think really got us to that point.
Yeah. So obviously, the team won the MAC regular season. and then won the MAC championship as well. So I'm assuming it's the championship that you were saying was the cool experience. So
Yes.
what is that like cutting down a net? Because Jenny and I are never going to get that chance.
It was cool because we actually so whenever we won regular season 2, it was at home. We still technically had one more game left, but we clinched at least a share of the regular season at home. So it was fun because the men did it too the night before our game. So we kind of got a little glimpse of what we could have had whenever we had the men's because they had all the confetti coming out. And just like a huge celebration and everything, and then the cutting down of the nets and just getting the regular season trophy and all of that. And that's just a cool experience, and my coach actually let me cut down, like, the final net the regular season, and that was really cool because then I got, like, swing it in the air and stuff too.
Very cool.
But it's just cool, like, even whenever you, like, go up there too and, like, cut down the net and turn around, just seeing everyone that supports you through everything, and it's just such a surreal experience, and, yeah, one of those moments that you just gotta take in while you're doing it.
Do you have a piece of the net of all those championship games?
Yeah, I have multiple. It kinda reminds me too because of high school, whenever we won back to back, we had, like you cut down at, like, sectional, regional, so you have, like, 4 pieces of net from 1 season, and so we had 2 of those, and then I have these now too, so I'm like, "I gotta start a little collection." But, no, for the championship game, I remember I had a piece of net that I, like, put behind my ear, and then the other one I tied to my hat, so you get a lot of, what do you call it, like, bling, I guess?
Yeah. So that's 10 nets you've cut down so far?
Yes, through high school and college, yeah.
And like we said, you're not done yet. So I'm
Yeah.
sure there's more to come. So that's awesome.
You talked about the hard hours of training and all that goes into it to get to that championship game. And it's just a lot of hard work along the way. Can you just talk through what that looks like in balancing your architecture program and obviously a lot of hours in the gym and at practice?
Yeah, so it's very different depending on the time of year. Just because like summer, like you have your 8-hour weeks, we call them, and then your 20-hour weeks, which just means like if you're in season or out of season and how many hours NCAA can give you to practice. But at least whenever we're in like our 20-hour weeks in season, it's you're in the gym a lot. And I always say that you're like technically practicing for this long, but you got to be there earlier to get the treatment and take your ice baths after and then you gotta eat before you go to class, so, like, you're in the gym a long time, but we do a lot of, like, individual workouts too, so shout out to, like, Coach Ben. It's gonna be my first year without him, this next year because now I got the head coach job at UB, but I would text him, especially freshman year, it kind of became a thing where it'd be, like, the night before, I'd be like, "Okay, workout at 6:30 or whatever," and then he's like, "Thumbs up," and at one point, it was like we didn't even need to text anymore because it just became a habit. So, yeah, we would do, like, individual workouts, probably, like, around 20, 30 minutes before every practice, or it's whenever you schedule them. I like to do it before practice. So you have, like, an individual workout, and then you have practice, and then you have team lift, and you'll have film sometime too. And it kinda just depends on what point of the year you are at and stuff, but, it's a lot of there's been some early mornings with it too, just because, like I was saying, with our schedules, it's so hard, and a lot of times whenever we schedule classes and stuff, a lot of times we have to schedule around me because of my architecture schedule, because we have studio, like, 1:15 to now 4:45, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, so 3 times a week. So, a lot of times I'll schedule my classes and they gotta figure out when we can have practice around that and when everyone else's classes are as well. But it's a lot sometimes because it's just constant going to the gym and then, going to class or whatever and then doing homework, and it's sometimes I don't even know how I balance it. I get a lot of especially, like, architecture majors, a lot of people are always like, "How are you doing both?" And I'm like, "Honestly, I don't know." Take it day by day, I guess, but yeah, it's a lot of time and effort put into it, but it really those workouts and stuff like that have really helped develop me as a player and, gotten me to where I am today.
Yeah, I mean, having been a student a very long time ago, I feel like I could barely get myself to class, feed myself, do laundry, like the bare minimum. And so I just think what student athletes do is impressive. The very first guest we had on was somebody that worked for me for a little while, and she played soccer at Ohio University. And when we were interviewing it, it was definitely a factor. The knowledge that like you can't be a goof off if you are going to play a Division 1 sport and get a degree. And hers was in like some kind of computer science. I forget what it was specifically. And so it definitely played a role in understanding that like what she not even knowing her, but knowing what she must have been able to sort out in order to have done both successfully at a big program. So it's impressive. Are you the only student athlete who is an architecture major?
No, so there actually are a couple of us. We all know each other because there's not that many, but I am the only one in my class, I believe, but I know there was a girl, older than me. She transferred out, but she was a softball player. And then I know there's a field hockey girl as a freshman, and there was a golfer at some point too. And then there's a track girl above me as well. So there's a few of us that are doing both, which is kind of nice because you can kind of rely on each other. And I think one thing too that's really nice is our program is very good at communicating with us and like working with us as well. And I know that they enjoy seeing us too and what we do because, like I'm saying, we are very disciplined. We know how to time manage.
Yeah.
And a lot of times too, it's like you guys are one of the more successful ones out of the groups just because you have that like discipline and background to you. But yeah, and I've even had like professors come to games and they're always cheering me on. And there was one time, it was after we won our regular season conference to some of my classmates, they actually went to the game and they took a bag of the confetti off the court. And then I come back to my studio desk. This was like half of a week later because we had another away game or something like that and there's like confetti. They laid it all over my desk and like made a little congrats sign and stuff like that. And my professor like printed out a picture of me or something. But so they're all very supportive of me and I really appreciate that too. So it's just a great environment to be a part of.
Very cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So, while we're talking about your architecture background, I understand that you are also working to help design the new stadium, which I think is super cool. Can you kind of talk about how that came around?
Yeah. So I'm not really working directly with a lot, but I've had a lot of little bits and pieces kind of involved with it, and it's been really cool. So last summer, I worked at the planning department for the school and an internship there, and they had meetings for the new arena that Miami is planning to build. And basically, these were user meetings where you kind of go in these and you talk about like what works in the arena, what doesn't work, what do you want in a new arena, what do you like in these different spaces and stuff like that. So I got to be a part of those, which is really cool because I kind of was there for my job too, but then I also got to help put in input for basketball as well, and which was just really cool. And then I actually got in contact with that company that was there interviewing us, and I reached out to them and was like, "Do you guys have any internships or anything over this next summer?" So then I got in contact with them, and because I never knew sports architecture was a big thing either before these meetings, and I was like, "Okay, I'm actually really interested in this, and I have a very unique perspective about it too." So yeah, so now I'm out here in Denver this summer working for that company, which they aren't really doing a lot of the work anymore on the because they did a lot of the planning and stuff like that. But it's still cool because I've been able to like still stay in contact with some people about it. And I actually was asked to speak whenever there was the board of trustees meeting to make the final decision. Our AD had a couple of us athletes come in, and that was also just cool to be a part of that too. And try to represent the programs that we have at Miami. And yeah, so I'm just excited to kind of see this thing. I won't be able to play in it, but
No.
it'll be cool just to like be a part of the whole arena too. Yeah.
Right. I was gonna say it's interesting because obviously, we both went to high school in Ohio, and the company we work for just has hired a ton of Ohio people. So between Jenny and I both, we know lots of Miami grads and alumni, either people we went to high school with, people we work with. And so it was really fun to watch like that program. Obviously, because the men went undefeated, I think they kind of got a little bit more attention. And so one of the guys that Jenny and I work with, after Indiana had gone undefeated in football, and obviously I talked about that nonstop because it was so unexpected and so amazing. And then it felt like Miami was having between the two teams an equivalent, unexpected, impressive season. So it's really cool that all that turned into the new arena and then your role in it. So maybe you'll get to sign it somewhere as
Yeah.
party to the beginning of it.
Yeah, I was like, it kinda just worked out because I was like, they were planning on doing this arena before seasons the past 2 or this past season, so I was like
I didn't realize that. I thought it
yeah,
was
'cause
like because the success, like it kind of turned into that.
well, that's what I'm saying, these meetings that I went to were in last summer, so it was
Okay.
before even season started, so it was like these have been kind of in the work a little bit, but it kinda was just like a cherry on top that both of our teams and programs were really good this past year.
Yeah. definitely.
So is there a specific feature that you pushed for in those planning meetings just because of your background in actually playing in the arena?
Yeah, mainly I talked a lot more whenever they met with the basketball programs, or the coaches and like what we wanted and stuff like that. So a lot of what I talked about was a lot of like our locker rooms and kind of like shared lounge spaces and even like our training room and like just the spaces that could be more developed right now because or that aren't really even exist right now because you don't realize how much too whenever you even have recruits and stuff that the facilities do make part of the decision of choosing a school. Miami has great facilities, but the arena is definitely on the older side, so it can definitely use a couple updates. So there was some of that, and then a lot of the meetings too were about like the fan experience too, and even like being on the court in Millette Hall. It's like the fans are so far away from the court because there's like this big track that kind of goes. So just developing like a more intentional space and you could feel more like immersed in the atmosphere as well. Just so little things like that. But yeah, a
Yeah,
lot
that's
of
cool.
different in and outs, I guess.
It'll be fun to be like a fan, for the games, like to come back as an alum and get to see, what you got to help be party to. That'll be cool.
Yeah. And even having like a your student section. I don't know if you guys saw the whole men's thing where they had
Yeah.
men's swimmers with the
Yeah.
shirts and they went in their speedos. So maybe have some bigger student sections for stuff like that too.
I thought you were going to say a Speedo section.
I don't know.
It's funny. I went to an IU volleyball game because they actually are doing pretty well as well. They made the tournament. So when I was up for a football game with Matt and his family, I talked them into going to a volleyball game, and the IU swim team showed up in Speedos there too. So I think maybe just swim teams like to show up in Speedos at events that are
Yeah. Well,
not
the first time
involving
they
water.
did it, it was like during a J term game for the men, and like there's not a lot of people in the that game, because it was like no one's on campus, and we were all just like shocked. And then whenever people started coming back to campus and they started selling out, and they kept on, it just became a thing every game, and then it was like, this is funny.
Yeah. And what made national news?
Yeah.
Yeah. So can we jump into March Madness? I think Beth and I are both very, very interested to understand the background of what we see on TV and how this tournament plays out. So can you kind of walk us through what happens on Selection Sunday?
Yeah, so I can't remember timeline wise. I'm like trying to remember it all. But I think so we played Saturday morning on our championship game and then we ended up coming back to town that night, and then that next day on Sunday, we had Selection Sunday, and the men were right before us because they also were in there. Theirs was a little bit more intense because theirs was the whole like, are they going to get in? Are they not? And they ended up getting into like the first four game. So we kind of came in right after them into our football film room is what they call it. But yeah, so it's kind of fun because they have these cameras set up where they're like pointed towards us, and the president of the school and his wife were there, and just a lot of higher people up that were there too. And we just kind of sat down and we're watching. And then we've heard like before we got in there, we kind of heard some like different places that we could be going, or like potentially, or like what seed we would probably would be around. But so every time that we would get to those seeds, we're like, okay, this could be us. It was like, oh, okay. But it was never like a, oh, are we gonna get it? Because it's like we're gonna get in. It's just a matter of like who are we gonna play and where are we gonna go. So that was just exciting. And then we see our name pop up that we're going to West Virginia, at West Virginia, and we were just kind of excited and to see where it could take us. And actually, this is another funny thing about the architecture thing is my coworkers that I work with now, like email me right after they got it. And they're like, we actually have two active projects going on right now. One of them's at West Virginia where you'll be playing in the gym. Cause I think they're doing like an addition of the suites and stuff in there. So like, we'll have to show you. And I've been able to actually work on some projects kind of related in a sense to that. So that was really cool. Yeah, so Selection Sunday was cool, and then you have I don't even remember what day we played of the week or what day we even traveled after that, but then you, like, have those practices to work up to that, and I remember just going to March Madness and just the fact that we were in it, and then we were on the screen and, like, showing us whenever with everyone else, and, like, it's just kinda cool.
Yeah, so that's the game that I actually watched because by the time I kind of knew your story, it was past all Like I did missed all the MAC championship and all the fun stuff. But so I'm curious because watching that game, I know it didn't go the way you guys wanted to. It was probably a little rough. But I am curious since it was, first March Madness game, that crowd seemed like it was lit. I mean, you could tell through the TV how loud it was and like how passionate their fans were. And I don't know that I was expecting that from West Virginia. I guess I don't think of them as like a stereotypically like if it was UConn, right? You're not at all surprised. So what was that environment like? Was that the most fans you'd ever played for?
Yes, that was crazy because I played in front of some big crowds in, like, high school and stuff too, going through all of our runs, but that was the biggest crowd I've ever played in front of. It was so cool. I mean, they were not cheering for us, but, 'cause we had run out of the tunnel for warm-ups, and all you hear is the boos, and you can't I look around at my team, and we're all just smiling because it's
Yeah.
just like, "Wow, like, this is crazy," and, like, it's almost like they're booing for you, but it's kind of you block that out and it just, like, kind of becomes noise, and it was really cool, and there was definitely times where I would say it's, like, it was a little bit harder to almost, like, play because it's harder to hear each other or just, like, there whenever they had good momentum going for them, then the crowd's all getting, hyped up and stuff like that, so it was definitely, like yeah, we didn't really have the best game ever, but it was just still really cool to be a part of that experience and, just be in March Madness and get all of, like, the locker room where you go in and you have all the little March Madness gear and, all, like, the extra, like, interviews and media that's kind of there, and just kind of being a part of that experience is just, like, something that we really all had to take in.
Hopefully that means this year when you make it in, like you'll have gotten kind of the jitters out of the way. You'll know what that experience is like. So you'll be ready to dominate this coming year.
Exactly, it's some great postseason experience to
Yeah.
help with our next year.
Yeah, for sure.
What is the media like for something like that? Are you, like, constantly doing media leading up to the game? And
It's like so we had practice the day before, and I think part of the practice is actually technically, like, open practice where, a lot of, like, some of the media could go in, and, I mean, honestly, like, being women's basketball and being one of the, like, lower seeded teams, we didn't get a ton if we were, like, UConn or something like that, but we still had some media, and, like, we had interviews that there was, like, 3 of us that got picked to go do an interview. I think it was the practice the day before, and then even, like, after the game was over and stuff too, it's like you have, like, the open locker rooms or it might have been after practice too, where you have, like, an open locker room where the media can come in, and you, like, have to sit there for, like, 30 minutes. So it's like if there's media that come in there, if there's not, you have to be in there anyway. So we were all just, like, had our post-game meals that we were just, like, kinda eating and kinda just waiting to be able to leave. At some point, there is a lot more media opportunities, I guess, too, but there was also just, like, more coverage too, and, like, even I know, like, my one teammate was, like, mic'd up too before for our practice the day before too, so a lot of different kinda coverages like that. It was cool.
Cool. I assume your parents made it to the game?
Yeah, I actually
Yeah.
had a lot of people make that drive because it's like 8 hours or something like that, so it's not an
Yeah,
easy drive.
drivable.
Yeah, I had some family that were there, and then even, like, my high school coaches came
That's
too, so
awesome.
that was really sweet. He actually surprised me, which I had a feeling he was coming, but and then he texted me, like, on the way, he's, like, sent a picture or something, he's like, "Ready for this?" I was like, "Oh, I knew it." But yeah, and I think Ron Harper was also there too, so that was cool. I mean, he was one of those that, he was there for our MAC championship game as well, and he kind of has came back and been to a lot more Miami games this past year just because of us and the men having our successful season, so that was cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I grew up watching the MAC conference as well, but, my team was Kent, because that just happened to be right around the corner from us, so, that's the team I watched. But wasn't, Wally Szczerbiak, was he Miami as well
Yes,
back in the
yes,
day?
he's
Okay.
a very big Miami guy, and he was posting a lot this year too, just with the men being, season and all that too, and they also come back to some of the men's games as well, like alumni weekend and stuff like that too, so they're very supportive of the university.
Cool. We talked a lot about your stats, so I'm curious about rebounding. Have you always been a good rebounder? It feels like that's kinda your niche skill.
Yeah, I would say I feel like that's kind of been one thing too that I've really enjoyed too, and because I always feel like rebounding is kind of it's mostly effort, honestly. Like if a lot of times, like sometimes people just shoot and like they're just like oh like let it go, but you've got to really kind of learn how to like kind of read the ball in the air, and then even I've learned some different like techniques of how to box out and like which ways to like move people around, I guess. So like your positioning to the basket as well, especially more in college, I would say. But I feel like that has been kind of a skill that I've kind of taken from my high school as well and just kind of try to advance it into college.
Yeah, I don't know. Did you watch the Knicks run and the OG Anunoby rebound that turned into the game-winning tip-in? So obviously he played at IU, so I was rooting for the Knicks just because of him. But that's a good example of lots of people standing around and watch the basketball because he was the inbounder and didn't just assume that the ball was going to go in, even though the best player had the ball in their hands, and they would have lost that game if not for that. I guess I don't know if it's technically a rebound; it was a tip-in, but same concept, right?
Yeah. And it's always great too, like, especially, like, O boards and stuff like that, like, anything you can get, it's, like, just creating more possessions for your teammates, and, I kinda just, like, thrive off of that a little bit too, yeah.
Very cool.
What do you think makes women's basketball so special and how it's seen like a, I guess you could call a resurgence, or everyone's really starting to like take note and you're getting a lot more eyes?
Yeah, I mean, I think there was the whole Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese run that really sparked it all. It feels like just last year, 2 years ago, but it's kind of been a little bit from now.
Yeah.
But so I feel like there was kind of like a start to it all, and I think it just kind of been growing a lot since. And it's just been really cool too to see these different things. And they've had even like a documentary, I think it was like over like Caitlin Clark, maybe Kiki Rice was in it, I think too. So just having like some of these like players and then people follow them and then they started watching more games and then coming to games and people are like, "Oh, like we're we're fun to watch too." And it's the whole like everyone loves watching women's sports. I think it's just kind of been a big movement and seeing like even the WNBA salaries rise and stuff like that. It's just been really cool to kind of be a part of that coming together of some sort. But even just like for me too, it's just like cool seeing like the little girls that look up to us and come support us. And I had a game this past year where there was like a younger team from my high school that came with one of my used to be high school coaches, I guess. And they came to my game and they all had shirts that had Tretter on the back too. It was just so like sweet and so surreal to see. And I feel like just it's growing in general with that. And like all these little girls are looking up to us now and want to be a part of it too. And it's just like really cool to see women's sports really being viewed like this now too and being a part of it.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's been cool to see, like, it's so much more televised because, I mean, for a long time, if you want to watch, say, WNBA games, I mean, there's were not a lot of them. It was hard, right? So even if you wanted to be a fan, like, they weren't making it easy, whereas this year, I think this is the most televised games ever in the history of the W, so it's just there's games almost every night, and, we live in Charlotte, so, like, we don't really have a team that we would necessarily follow, so it actually has made it fun because 'cause I've just picked, like, 10 different players, and I just cheer for their team, so, like, on any given night, I can pick somebody that either I watched play in college or, I'm bummed that at the moment, Mackenzie Holmes is the only IU player because when Grace Berger got drafted, I just followed her into the W and started watching from that way. And so, but now there's all these players that I've gotten to watch, on TV because they're doing more with the college side of it, and now they're playing in the W. But you can actually watch them, whereas before, even if you wanted to, you just wasn't as much opportunity. So, yeah. So I'm excited to watch you play next year now that I know your whole story.
I did find out Charlotte does have a team called the Charlotte Crown. I don't know what level, and Amber, I don't know if you can help us understand, like, after college, maybe it's not the WNBA. I know some people go overseas and play, but what are the other leagues that may be around? Do you happen to know?
Yeah, I'm still learning about all that too, especially too because I maybe want to play overseas for a year or two after I'm done with college, and I am still learning about all that. They're coming out with new things too. I think that's helping it grow, like the Unrivaled League and the stuff like that. Where even how you mentioned how they're just publicizing everything better, and the media's just been better over it all. But I think these leagues are growing and they're like starting to make new ones too. Yeah, how they're having like all these just like newer teams too. That's something I need to actually look into more is like the other leagues that you're talking about as well.
Yeah, this is their first year. I didn't recognize any of the players because they didn't come out of the Big Ten, and that's where most of my familiarity is. But some of them I think played somewhat recently, the ones that are in Charlotte. And I think some of them are maybe like have been out for a couple years.
Which
Yeah.
now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like wondering if I might have had a teammate that's doing that. Yeah,
Okay.
wait, I do actually.
So
I
she's
was
on
like, I
the
feel
Charlotte
like
team?
I was like, I'm looking it up right now. Corey Lard, yeah, I think it says she's on the Crown or something like
Yeah.
that.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, so
Okay.
I'm like, cause I was like, "Wait, I feel like I've seen her been posting about that on Instagram." So, yeah, so I guess and
Okay.
she used to play with me and then, for 2 years, I think, but
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Awesome. Well, that's
We'll have
cool.
to check it out then.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when do you have to make the decision to like get an agent and decide if you want to try overseas?
Uh, that's something that I am still trying to learn too. It's been nice that I've had like Coach Box and even Coach Shoemate for me is like he's had 2 children play overseas and he's had a daughter that just graduated from Michigan State as well. So I think I would really like talk with them more about it and just kind of try to get just some more opinions about it all and just trying to figure out how it works exactly. I mean, I kind of heard a lot of it. You can kind of just do it happens like postseason. So I think I would do that. And now with the whole fifth year thing coming out too, there's a lot that I gotta figure out for myself for
Yeah.
my future.
It's good to have options. Better than
Yeah.
not, right? Yeah. So going into this season, like obviously you guys had an amazing team season. You had an amazing season. Did the goals ratchet up another level for this coming year?
Yeah, so, um, we only have 3 returners this next year, but I feel like that's just kinda how it is with the portal these days and NIL and all the way the college athletics has transformed, but I think we still got some really good commits coming in, and I'm excited. So I'm actually out here in Denver this summer, so I won't be there for practices this summer, which I'm interested to see how it goes, but I feel like we have some good people coming in, and our coaches are gonna be really good at helping getting everyone, develop to the atmosphere and our culture that we want, and so I'm really excited to see how we'll be this next year. I think we'll still be really good, and yeah, and if everyone just kind of commits to our program and what we believe in, I think we'll still be a dangerous team.
In a very small world connection, the volleyball player that Jenny and I interviewed for the episode that dropped this week, I know her through a college roommate that went to IU. She actually went to high school with Juliana Lamondola. So,
Okay.
yeah, because I saw her maybe 2 years ago and somehow it came up in conversation and then she transferred. And I was like, oh, now I can't even watch her. So it's kind of a very strange small world, kind of connection. They went to school in Frisco together in high school.
Yeah, I feel like there's always so many, like, connections. That's one thing I've learned through the athletics, it's like, you don't realize how many people are connected to another.
Yeah, for sure.
So I'll ask my normal question that I always ask. So, my question to you, Amber, is for the young girls out there that you kind of reference that may be coming to the game or maybe watching more of women's basketball, what is your piece of advice to them if they are looking to also play basketball at the higher level?
Yeah, I think I always say this, where I'm just like, being coachable, I think, is something that's, a really big thing, and just learning from the people around you and, trying not to think that you kinda know it all in a sense, and just really trying to grow yourself that way, I think, is something that will take you further, and, just really listening to the coaches and players and, really developing your game better and just sticking with it and making sure you're having fun too, because sometimes it can be a little frustrating at some points, and just making sure that you're in it for the right reasons and you love the game and trying to learn as much as you can while you do it.
Yeah, I think the be coachable thing will translate for the rest of your life. I think, obviously Jenny and I have been working in the professional world for a long time. And, people who can take, feedback and do something good with it, that'll carry you forever, right? So that's a good trait for younger people to figure out as well. So awesome. So thank you for coming on. I'm very excited to watch you play this season. I hope you enjoy the rest of your summer in Denver, getting to do the sort of student part of student athlete before you have to go back to the grind of being the athlete part as well.
Do you know when your first game kicks off?
I have no idea. I'm assuming November something. We normally start with we have like a Sunbelt challenge that we normally start with. So they'll probably announce that soon.
Yeah, some of those Sunbelt teams I think are down near us, I believe. I think there's a couple in North Carolina, so I'll have to pay attention just in case.
We played Coastal Carolina last year.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Excellent. Well, maybe at some point when I'm back up in Indiana, I'll actually get to meet you in person for real. So that would be nice. All right. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. I
Thank you.
appreciated it.
Thanks for joining us on this week's episode. And if you've liked what you've heard and you've stuck with us this far, we would love for you to subscribe. We are on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. We hope to see you next week.